Hi, I'm Cole.
And I'm Grace. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into something truly massive that's reshaping global power dynamics, the race for artificial intelligence dominance.
It really is.
When you think about it, AI isn't just, one revolution. It feels like an industrial one, an information one, even a renaissance, all hitting at the same time.
Absolutely. And for any nation, securing a place in that future isn't just about the economy anymore.
No, it's straight up national security.
Definitely. We're talking about something that will fundamentally shift global standards, redefine, well, everything from economic influence to who holds the edge in defense, healthcare, you name it. The stakes are incredibly high.
Couldn't be higher. And that ambition, well, it leads to some really bold strategies, like the one we're digging into today, America's AI Action Plan 2025. And our mission here is simple: give you an impartial, factual, and professional summary. We'll unpack the core ideas, bring in some expert takes, and touch on the debates around it.
Sounds good. So this plan, the official title is Winning the AI Race. It came out from the White House on July 23rd, 2025. And it basically functions as the replacement for President Biden's earlier executive order, 14110.
Right, the one focused on safe, secure, and trustworthy AI.
Exactly.
And that context is actually really crucial here. That Biden order was, well, it was seen as the most comprehensive piece of U.S. AI governance we'd had.
It was at the time.
But then President Trump rescinded it, literally hours after taking office back in January 2025.
Yeah.
The administration called it, I think the words were unpopular, inflationary, illegal, and radical practices.
So yeah, this new plan isn't just a tweak. It's a significant policy pivot. The Biden administration really emphasized risk, governance, AI safety. This new strategy, it's laser focused on accelerating innovation, cementing American leadership, although it does keep a pretty ambitious scope in areas like national security and workforce development.
Okay, so a definite shift in emphasis.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the core structure? What are the foundational ideas shaping this new approach?
Sure. It's built on three main pillars. First, accelerating AI innovation. Second, building American AI infrastructure. And third, leading in international diplomacy and security.
Okay, three big areas.
And holding those up are three core principles. First, the idea that American workers or central AI should complement jobs, not just replace them.
Right.
Second, a principle that AI systems, especially those providing facts, need to be free from ideological bias and pursue objective truth.
Okay. That sounds like it could spark some debate.
It certainly has. And the third principle is about constant vigilance, preventing misuse or theft of tech, and watching for new risks.
So vigilance, objectivity, and worker focus. Got it. Let's maybe start with that first pillar then, accelerating innovation. What's the game plan there?
Well, the main thrust is dismantling what are seen as unnecessary regulatory barriers, really creating space for the private sector to lead and, well, innovate rapidly.
How are they planning to do that?
A few key ways. The plan calls for federal agencies, think OMB, FCC, FTC, to review and potentially repeal regulations that might hinder AI development. Okay. And interestingly, it also explicitly states that federal AI funding might be limited for states that have, quote, burdensome AI regulations.
So using federal funding as a lever to maybe encourage states to align their rules?
Analysts suggest that's likely the goal, yeah. Trying to harmonize things indirectly, given how fragmented state-level AI rules have become.
And what about that point on bias, the free speech and American values aspect?
Right. That involves directing NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, to revise its AI risk management framework, specifically to, quote, eliminate references to misinformation, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, and climate change.
Wow, okay. That's quite specific.
It is. And related to that, federal procurement guidelines are set to be updated. The idea is the government should only contract with large language model developers whose systems are deemed objective and free from top-down ideological bias.
That objective and ideological bias definition feels like it could be tricky to pin down in practice.
That's definitely a point analysts have raised, the subjective nature of it, and even potential First Amendment questions, depending on how it's interpreted and enforced.
Okay. What else under innovation? I know open source has been a big topic.
Yes, the plan definitely encourages open source and also open weight AI models, sees them as innovation drivers, especially for startups, and important for adoption where sensitive data is involved, like in government.
How are they supporting that?
Initiatives include improving financial markets for large-scale computing power access and expanding resources through programs like the National AI Resource Pilot, the NAR.
Oh, yes, NRR.
That's getting a significant boost, $3 billion per year, to provide researchers with compute power up to 250 PFLOPS and curated data sets.
That's serious compute power. What about getting AI tools actually used more broadly?
That's covered too, establishing regulatory sandboxes and AI centers of excellence. The goal is rapid deployment and testing of AI tools in critical sectors like healthcare and energy.
And the workforce piece you mentioned.
Yeah, there's a big emphasis on a worker-first AI agenda, aiming for AI to complement jobs. This includes things like tax credits up to $12,000 per employee for AI skills training.
Okay, incentivizing companies to train their people.
Exactly. And also setting up an AI workforce research hub under the Department of Labor that's meant to continuously study AI's impact on the job market and, guide retraining policies.
Makes sense. Anything else under innovation?
Two more key areas. One is investing in AI-enabled science and next-gen manufacturing, supporting automated labs, pushing robotics, autonomous drones, aiming for a kind of new industrial renaissance.
And that involves data, right?
Big time.
Right.
Building world-class scientific data sets. They even mention exploring a massive whole genome sequencing program for, all life on federal lands.
Wow. Ambitious. And the last point.
Combating synthetic media. Malicious deepfakes. NIST is looking at potentially developing its Guardians of Forensic Evidence deepfake evaluation program into a more formal guideline for the legal system.
Okay, so that's a lot under Pillar 1. Accelerating innovation through deregulation, specific guidance on model content, open source support, workforce training, science investment, and tackling deepfakes.
Pretty comprehensive on the innovation front, yeah.
Fascinating. So we've covered how the plan aims to accelerate innovation by removing barriers and fostering open development. But none of that happens in a vacuum, right? It all needs a foundation.
Precisely. And that brings us squarely to Pillar 2, which is all about building out the American AI infrastructure. And honestly, the scale of this challenge is, it's staggering.
Staggering is probably the right word.
The core objective sounds simple, but it's immense. Make sure the U.S. can actually meet the rapidly growing energy and compute demands of all this new AI technology.
I can only imagine. So what are the big initiatives proposed to actually build this foundation? What are they planning?
Well, a primary one is streamlined permitting. The plan calls for pretty significant reforms to environmental permitting processes, things you hear about like NEPA reviews, the Clean Water Act.
The things that can often slow projects down.
Exactly. The idea is to accelerate the expansion of data centers, semiconductor plants, and crucially, the energy infrastructure needed to power them all. It reflects what the plan explicitly calls a build, baby, build vision.
Build, baby, build. Okay.
Yeah. And there are concrete proposals tied to that, like a suggested $45 billion package specifically for building out transmission lines and rolling out rural fiber optic networks.
That's a crucial point, the infrastructure keeping pace. I remember reading something, I think it was back in 2022, about West Des Moines, Iowa. Microsoft had data centers there, and they were using something like 6% of the city's entire monthly water supply just for cooling AI systems.
Wow.
Yeah, and because there weren't really state or federal rules on water usage for data centers then, the local utility had to step in. They worked out a deal with the city, and eventually Microsoft committed to zero water cooling for new builds there. Yeah. It just shows how fast these infrastructure pinch points can appear.
That's a perfect example. And while streamlining permits is definitely seen as a positive step by industry, some analysts do caution that major energy projects, the really big ones, still face significant risks of getting tied up in lengthy court battles.
Right. Executive action might not be enough to bypass all of that quickly.
Exactly. Which points to the broader challenge here. How do you rapidly expand energy generation to meet this absolutely voracious demand from AI?
And it's not just silicon and software then, is it? It's the fundamental energy grid that affects everyone.
Totally.
The plan seems to get that. It explicitly says AI is the first digital service that's really challenging America to build vastly greater energy generation. It even points out how U.S. energy capacity has kind of stagnated since the 70s, while China's grid, for instance, has expanded dramatically.
Yeah, the comparison is stark.
So the goal is clear. Stabilize the grid we have, optimize it, and then really grow it. And that includes embracing newer energy sources, like enhanced geothermal, and looking seriously at nuclear fission and, potentially down the line, fusion.
And analysts have tried to put a number on this challenge. Some estimates suggest the U.S. AI sector alone might need something like 50 gigawatts of power by 2028.
50 gigawatts. How much is that in real terms?
Think about it this way. That's roughly the equivalent generating capacity of 24 Hoover dams.
24 Hoover dams.
Yeah.
Just for AI by 2028. It really drives home how foundational this energy piece is.
It really does.
Okay, so energy is huge. What else is critical for building this AI infrastructure according to the plan?
Restoring American semiconductor manufacturing is another absolute cornerstone. The plan leverages the existing SHIPS program office that already had $52 billion allocated through 2030.
Right, the SHIPS Act money.
But this plan adds another $25 billion specifically for R&D into advanced packaging and, interestingly, chips designed specifically for large language models.
LLM-specific chips.
Okay. Plus, there's a hefty 40% CapEx tax credit for semiconductor fabs that are operational by 2030. It's a serious financial push.
And it seems like it's having some effect already.
It is. The U.S. has attracted nearly $450 billion in planned semiconductor investments in just 4 years, which is huge, but there's a big but.
The workforce.
Exactly. We're facing a projected shortfall of something like 67,000 workers in the semiconductor industry. So building the fabs is one thing, staffing them is another.
That worker shortfall is a recurring theme, isn't it? And it's interesting, some analysts noted that while the plan doubles down on tax credits and streamlining rules, it notably doesn't mention using tariffs to incentivize bringing manufacturing back, which was a tool used before.
That's a fair point. It focuses more on the incentives and deregulation side for manufacturing. Beyond chips, this pillar also talks about high-security data centers.
For government use.
Primarily, yeah. For military and intelligence community use, acknowledging that AI is incredibly well-suited for processing large volumes of sensitive intelligence data.
That makes sense.
And it also establishes something called an AI Information Sharing and Analysis Center, an AI ISAC. The goal there is to get critical infrastructure sectors sharing information about AI-related security threats.
So better communication on threats.
Right. And generally, this whole pillar pushes for secure by design AI technologies and making sure we have robust capabilities to respond when AI incidents inevitably happen.
Those measures for preparedness sound good, but I've seen some experts argue they might not go far enough.
How so?
Well, the argument is that just sharing information isn't enough. They're calling for real public-private operational collaboration, like joint planning, joint training exercises, to actually prepare effectively for really sophisticated cyber attacks, perhaps state-sponsored ones, targeting AI systems.
That's a valid concern. You need more than just talk. You need practice. And that actually leads us quite naturally into the third pillar.
Okay, pillar 3.
Which is all about leading in international AI diplomacy and security. So shifting focus to the global stage.
And the core objective here.
2 main parts, really. First, secure and maintain American AI leadership internationally. Second, prevent adversaries from getting their hands on and misusing U.S. innovation.
Makes sense. So what's the main strategy for achieving that international leadership aspect? How do they plan to lead?
A really key initiative here is the aggressive export of American AI. The plan talks about meeting global demand by exporting the full AI technology stack.
The full stack. What does that encompass?
Pretty much everything. The hardware, the AI models themselves, the software, the applications built on top, and even the standards used to develop and deploy them, all aimed at allies and partners.
Why the emphasis on the full stack?
The thinking seems to be twofold. First, prevent partners from turning to rivals like China out of necessity. Second, avoid those partners becoming dependent on technology from foreign adversaries. Keep them within the U.S. tech ecosystem.
That focus on the full stack is actually quite strategic when you think about it. Yeah. Some experts point out that the U.S. AI sector has historically been very focused on pushing the absolute cutting edge, the frontier model.
Right, the most advanced stuff.
Which sometimes meant underinvesting in more tailored, domain-specific, real-world applications of AI. So, by offering the full solution, the U.S. is trying to fill that gap, prevent China from dominating applied AI, and essentially draw other countries closer.
Exactly. It's about building that ecosystem dependency in a positive sense for U.S. influence. The plan also talks about countering foreign influence more broadly by leveraging the U.S. position in international bodies, the UN, OECD, G7, G20, you name it. The goal is to advocate for AI governance approaches that favor innovation and, quote, American values, while actively pushing back against authoritarian models of AI governance.
So, setting the global norms, but ensuring they align with U.S. interests and values, you can kind of see the U.S. stance here supporting allies, but being pretty skeptical of, say, The UN creating highly enforceable global rules, especially when it comes to things like lethal autonomous weapons.
That skepticism is definitely there. Another absolutely critical piece of this pillar is strengthening export controls.
Right, controlling who gets access to the most advanced tech.
Precisely. The aim is to deny foreign adversaries access to cutting-edge AI compute power. This involves exploring things like location verification features built into chips, trying to ensure they can only be used where they're supposed to be.
Like geofencing for advanced chips.
Sort of, yeah. And also setting up new efforts to work closely with intelligence agencies on enforcing global chip export controls more effectively. And importantly, trying to plug loopholes in existing controls on semiconductor manufacturing equipment by developing new controls for component subsystems.
Controlling not just the whole machine, but key parts of it, that seems like a logical next step to limit capabilities.
It does.
But I've seen analysts warn that this needs to be done very, very carefully, like precisely targeted and ideally done multilaterally with allies.
Because
Because if the controls are too broad or if the U.S. does it alone, it risks really hurting the market share and the revenue of U.S. and allied companies. And ironically, that revenue is what fuels their R&D to stay ahead in the first place. It's a really delicate balance.
Absolutely. Hit your own companies too hard and you undermine the very leadership you're trying to protect. It's tricky.
Definitely. What else under the international pillar?
Well, there's global alignment and biosecurity. The plan encourages partners and allies to adopt similar controls to the U.S., and it signals a willingness to use tools like the Foreign Direct Product Rule or even secondary tariffs if allies are seen to be backfilling, basically, selling controlled tech to adversaries that the U.S. won't sell.
So using economic pressure to get allies on board with controls.
Potentially, yeah. And on biosecurity, it emphasizes requiring federally funded research institutions to use nucleic acid synthesis tools, the machines that can print DNA that have robust screening and customer verification, trying to stop bad actors from easily synthesizing dangerous pathogens.
Okay, that makes sense, given the potential risks with AI and biology converging.
Definitely a growing concern.
So that covers the three pillars: accelerate innovation, build infrastructure, and lead internationally. Looking at the whole thing, experts really highlight this overarching pro-innovation deregulatory stance as a major shift from previous approaches.
It really does signal a policy focus on speed, scale, and strategic advantage above almost all else.
And for companies listening, especially those who might do business with the government, the takeaway seems to be expect increased scrutiny around this idea of model neutrality that the plan talks about, and definitely pay close attention to evolving export control rules.
Absolutely. And that point about public trust is also woven through here. While the plan mentions incident response, as we discussed, there's that recognized need experts keep bringing up for deeper public-private collaboration, not just information sharing, to really build resilience against complex AI threats.
Okay, so to wrap things up a bit, America's AI Action Plan lays out this three-pronged strategy: speed up innovation, build the necessary infrastructure, and lead on the global stage. It's clearly trying to balance rapid tech development with securing American interests and values in what is, undeniably, a fiercely competitive global race.
And just to reiterate, this deep dive aimed to give you insights from the plan itself and various expert analyses without us endorsing or opposing any specific policy. We've tried to highlight the key points and also where the big debates are, particularly that tension between deregulation for speed, the push for what the plan calls ideological neutrality, and the sheer difficulty of getting global agreement on controlling powerful technology.
Right. And as you, our listener, reflect on the ambitious scope of all this, maybe here's a final thought to chew on. Given everything in America's AI Action Plan, what will ultimately be the most critical measure of its success? Will it be the raw pace of technological innovation it manages to unlock? Will it be the number of new American jobs created? Or will it be its ability to actually shape a globally trusted and secure AI ecosystem for everyone?
That's a great question to ponder, and we definitely invite you to continue your own exploration of this incredibly fast-moving field and its, well, profound implications for all of us.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. It really helps us grow. See you next time.